Okay, now let's take a look at the work together problem, and we'll solve this together on page number 350 in your textbook and 313 in your workbook. So your instructions say that the October 15th time card for Alice R. Webster and time card data for other employees are provided in the working papers. This is 313. You are going to round all hours to the nearest quarter hour. So a lot of employers only pay for a quarter hour. They don't pay you for each exact minute that you work. So our first part of the instruction is to calculate the regular, overtime, and total hours worked by Ms. Webster. Any hours over 8 hours per day or 40 hours per week are considered overtime. Each work week begins on Monday, and they're asking us to record the total hours on the time card. So on page 313, this is your time card for Alice R. Webster. Let's take a look at the way the time card is set up. We've got the morning hours, we've got the afternoon hours, and if there is overtime or evening hours necessary to make up, and then this last column would be for the total hours. So let's take a look at what happened on Monday. On Monday, she came to work at 7:54, and she left for lunch at 11:57. So we have to round these up because, again, we're not getting paid for each minute, but by quarter hour. So 7:54 would essentially mean that she's getting paid starting at 8 o'clock, and she left for lunch at 11:57, and so that essentially is noon. So 8 o'clock until noon is 4 hours. She came back from lunch at 12:56, and she left for the day at 5:02. So this is essentially 1 o'clock and 5 o'clock. So 4 hours in the morning, 4 hours in the afternoon. There was no overtime that day. And so on Monday, she worked 8 hours, no overtime. So for Tuesday, she came in at 8 and she left at 11:53 for lunch. That is 4 hours in the morning. She came back from lunch at 1:06, left for the day at 5:02. Another 4 hours, giving her 8 hours of work on Tuesday. So Wednesday, she came in at 7:56. She went to lunch at 12:01. There's your 4 hours in the morning. And in the afternoon, she came back from lunch, 1:04, left for the day at 5:01. An additional 8 hours. So let's take a look at Wednesday. It looks like she worked a little bit of overtime on Wednesday. So she has her 4 hours in the morning. She has an additional 4 hours in the afternoon. So 4 and 4, that gives her her 8 regular hours. She came back in the evening at 6:01 and worked until 9:33. So on that day, she worked 3.5 hours overtime. Take a look at Friday. She did not work in the morning, but she came in at 12:58. She worked until 4:56. And then it looks like she worked again in the evening, 6:01 until 10:07. That gives you her 8 hours for Friday. So simply going through and doing the same for the next business week. 4 hours, 4 hours, that gives you her 8 hours. 4 hours. And this time, looks like she worked an hour overtime. So 8 regular hours and 1 overtime hour. This is Wednesday, 7:54 until 11:56. So that's your 4 hours. Came back from lunch and worked 4 more hours. Thursday, 7:58, 12:01. That's your 4 hours in the morning. An additional 4 hours in the afternoon. And we've got Friday. Let's see, we're from 8 until 1. 5 hours, came back at 2 from lunch, worked 3 in the afternoon. That still gives you 8 hours. Here's a Saturday that she worked. So Saturday, it looks like she worked 3 overtime hours. And then we're back to Monday again. And on Monday she worked 8 hours. So what we're going to do is we're going to add all of these up. She worked 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 days of 8-hour days. So that gives you 88 hours. And then overtime, adding these up, she worked 7.5 overtime hours. Okay, so that takes care of Alice R. Webster's time card. We move on to section 2. Enter the regular and overtime hours for Ms. Webster in the schedule. So here is the schedule down below. So she worked 88 hours and she worked 7.5 overtime hours. Next step is for each employee, calculate the amount of regular, overtime, and total earnings. Overtime hours are paid at 1.5 times the regular rate and round each dollar amount to the nearest cent. So let's take care of regular hours first. So this individual right here, employee number 1, worked 80 regular hours, and the regular hourly rate is $9 per hour. So regular hours, they earned a total of $720. Overtime hours, they worked 5 overtime hours. If they are earning $9 for each regular hour, how much will they earn by working overtime? So we're going to take our calculator, and if they work $9 per hour times 1.5, that means that for overtime hours, they earn $13.50. They worked 5 overtime hours, so that gives them an additional $67.50. Add together your regular plus overtime, and that gives you $787.50 for employee 1. We'll do the same thing for employee number 2. 80 hours times $12.50. So 80 times $12.50 equals, they earned $1,000. Try and line these up by decimal point. Overtime is 1.5 times $12.50. So $12.50 times 1.5 equals, they earn $18.75 per overtime hour. They work 3 overtime hours. So times 3, their overtime is $56.25. Add the 2 together, and this person is making $1,056.25. Employee number 3 worked 70 hours and they're making $9.75 per hour. So working 70 hours times $9.75 equals $682.50. They worked no overtime, and so $682.50 is their total earnings. And last is Alice Webster. So she has worked 88 hours times $11 per hour equals $968. she worked 7.5 overtime hours. So if she makes $11 per hour, multiply that by 1.5. She makes $16.50 for overtime hours, and she worked 7.5 overtime hours to give her an extra $123.75. Add the two together, and $1,091.75. Okay, so that completes work together problem 12.1. What I would like you to do for tomorrow is to do the on your own problem 12-1 on page number 314.